I will show you how to reduce your Sudoku solving to one ultimate strategy that will work on any puzzle. And with that, it's solving time. Start by getting a couple of easy solves. You might notice with these two ones and this one, there's only one place for a 1 in block 4. And then with these 3s and this 3, there's only one place to put a 3 in block 2. Greetings, friend. The reason you are wasting time on Sudoku is not because you're not looking hard enough or spending enough time on a puzzle. It's because you're trying to look for too many things at once. I will share my two-part strategy that I developed from solving hundreds of classic Sudokus that you can use on any puzzle. But first, the question of the day. What is the wrong way to solve Sudoku? Is there a wrong way? Please, 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 please share in the comments and help me grow the internet's best Sudoku community. The first part of the ultimate Sudoku strategy involves looking for digit restrictions from 1 to 9. So if you look at the ones, you might notice with this one in the row and this one in the column, there's only two places for a 1 in block 3. So you want to mark that to show the restrictions here in block 3. If you solve one of these cells for other than a 1, you can solve the other one for a 1 right away. Then look here with these ones. You have two places for a 1 in block 5. So mark that. And you can look for other places for the 1s. You are not going to find any solves or places to mark 2 spots in a 3x3 block, so move on to the 2s. And just scan and focus on the one digit right now, the 2s. 2s can only be here in block 1. Since they're in the same row, you have found a pointing pair. 2s have to be here somewhere. They can't be anywhere else along row 3. If you put a 2 here, you block out the 2s from block 1. So use that in this 2, and you can mark 2s now in block 3 to these 2 spots. Then go to block 6 with these 2s. Only 2 places right there. And then in block 8 with these 2s, only 2 places right there. So you're scanning digit by digit through the grid, making marks as necessary to find those restrictions. This is part of that ultimate solving strategy. Let's move on to the 3s. With these 2 3s, 2 places for a 3 in block 5. And this might be a little tricky to spot. You might think you're done with the 3s, but you want to notice is when I make this mark, I look across to these other blocks, blocks 4 and 6 here. And you might see with this 3 coming down, the 3s can only be in these 4 spots in block 6. That's rows 5 and 6. And then with your mark that you just made right here, you know that the 3s are limited to rows 5 and 6 in block 5. It's because these 3s all block out the 3s in these spots. So what does this mean? Well, it means that 3s have to be somewhere in row 4. They can't be in any of these 6 cells because of what you just found out. So now you can focus your attention right here and notice that, well, a 3 can't be here because there's a 2. Can't be here because of this 3. You can actually solve this cell for a 3. It's a hidden single 3. If there's 2 possibilities, it'd be a claiming pair. 3 possibilities, a claiming triple. In this case, hidden single 3. And now this is going to allow you to extend your solving. With these 3s and this 3, now you can solve for 3 right there. And then with these 3s, you can mark 3s here in block 9. And this is the first part of that ultimate strategy, is to implement a reliable scanning system. And so what I do is I go and I teach you to go through digit restrictions 1 through 9, and then as you're looking, compare the blocks next to each other, look at the restrictions, see if you can make some more solves. And these marks will also interact with each other. I'm going to show you that in just a bit. So you do want to have that reliable scanning system. So you don't waste eye movements, you don't lose your place, and you don't look at non-valuable, non-value added parts of the grid. Let's move on to the 4s now. With the 3 4s, looking into block 7, you can mark 2 places for a 4 right there. Nothing else you can do with the 4s. Move on to the 5s. With these 2 5s, 2 places for a 5 in block 4. Okay, let's move on to the 6s. See what you can do with the 6s. Well, you might notice with this 6 and these two 6s, you can solve for a 6 right here in block 6. And once you displace a mark, you can solve the other cell for that mark right away. So now you can solve that for a 2. But we're not done with the 6s. With this 6 and this 6, you can solve for 6 right here in block 7. And then with these 6s, solve for 6 right here. I'm just using my eyes, kind of going around in clockwise direction. These two 6s, solve for 6 right here. And then with these 6s, solve for 6 here. And you can finish up with the last 6 in block 8. So that's part of that scanning system. Make a solve and then look and see how it impacts the nearby blocks, rows, columns, and continue until you find all of the digits or marks. That's it for the 6s. Let's move on to the 7s. Only one 7 there. Nothing you can really do with that. Let's move on to the 8s. Might not see much with the 8s until you look and notice with this 8, column 3, you have a pointing pair of 8s in block 4. Pair it with that 8, and now you can solve for an 8 here in block 1. And then with these two 8s, it limits the 8s to these two cells right here. So this is an interesting situation. You see that you have the 2s and 8s both restricted to the same two blocks in block 3. But you have this additional digit of 1. You've actually found a hidden pair of a 2 and an 8. And I'll just kind of highlight that. So the 2, 8 have to be in these two cells. The 1 can't be there. So you can displace that 1 whenever you see that and solve this cell immediately for a 1. But we can go a little bit further, right? Maybe you noticed with this 2 right here, that can't be a 2. You can displace that 2. Solve this for a 2, solve that for an 8. So you're extending the solve by looking and seeing what else you can do with the scanning. So in this case, I was looking in block 3, go down here, notice that, oh yeah, I solved a 2. I can fix those marks. And then what else can we do with the 8s? 3 places here, 4 places there, not going to make any more marks with the 8s. Let's move on to the 9s. This 9 cutting across row 1, you have a nice pointing pair of 9s now in block 2. And then with this 9 coming down the column, you actually have a pointing pair of 9s in block 7. And a bonus tip now, you went through all the digits 1 through 9. If you made some solves, continue that scanning system, go back through and see if there's any other quick and easy solves you can make. So if you look up here in block 1 with these 4s, you might notice that there's 2 places for a 4 in block 1. And then extend the scan here through row 2, right? Because this 4 covers this cell, 4s have to be somewhere in row 2. Now they're restricted to block 3. And with this 4 right here, you actually have found a nice claiming pair of 4s. The 4s have to be somewhere in the row. They're only in block 3, so they claim block 3. And it's a nice little claim pair that you can put right there. And I cover claiming pairs, pointing pairs, hidden pairs, and more in my free Sudoku solving guide. It will give you the foundation for a reliable scanning system. Just click on the pinned comment to get your free guide. And now, what else can you do here? Look across row 4. This is a heavy house. This is also where you want to look, where you see at least 5 cells filled out. You're going to find more restrictions, and you shift your focus a little bit with your scanning system. You got a 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, need a 4, 8, and a 9. Well, you might notice that with these two 8s, looking at these two cells, that's just going to be a 4, 9. So where can the 8 go in row 4? It can only go right there. So you can solve that for an 8, a nice hidden single 8. And this brings me up to the second part of the ultimate strategy. The first part, reliable scanning system. The second part is to consider the impact of each solve on the row, column, and block. The key to make this work, it's not just to look in the block where you stopped, it's to go back to any breakthrough points or spots where you got a little stuck and head out in the different directions. If you went through the row, look at the column. You went to the column, look through the block. You're going to get so many more solves that way. And try not to stay in a block where the solving goes cold. So I don't want to stay right here. I actually want to go back and notice with that 8 you made right there, this 8 coming down, 8 coming across, pointing pair of 8s in block 9. To go with this 8 and this 8, and now you can solve for an 8 in block 8. Then follow these 8s right here. 8s are restricted in block 5 to these two cells. Well, so are the 3s, so you have a nice 3-8 hidden pair. But that 1's extra, so I already showed you that the impact on that is to be able to displace that 1 and solve this cell now for a 1. And now what's the impact in this block? Well, with that 1, you notice now you have, looks like a 4, 7, and a 9 right here. So you can put the 4, 7, 9 there. The 7s are going to end up being a pointing pair because they're in the same row. They can't be here because of this 7. So 7s can't be here. What's the impact on block 4? Means this has to be a 7 now. And then what's the impact of that solve? If you see the impact right there in the block, keep going on that solve path. If you don't, go back to where you had the breakthrough. 5, 9, naked pair right there. It's also a locked pair. It's in row 5 and block 4. What does that do for this row? Well, it eliminates the 9s from these two cells. And so now you can solve this cell for a 9, solve that for a 4. And then what else can you do? Well, this 3, 8, you know, that's going to be a 3, 8. And then where are the 9s in block 6? They have to be right there. So you see all of that progress you made by looking at impact, row, column, and block. Now go back and notice, is there more impact? Sure enough, right here, you can displace that 4, solve this cell for a 4 now. Okay, and then what's the impact on that? Well, notice now you have 5, 7, 9 right here. And so you can put the 5, 7, and the 9. This can't be a 9 because of the pointing pair of 9s. And then you want to shift your focus and go, okay, where can I make more solves? Well, 5s can't be there because of this 5. So you have a nice pointing pair of 5s now in block 3. To go with this 5, you have 5s right there. What else do you have? Looks like, where can a 1 go in column 7 now? These two 1s and this one, you can solve for a 1 right there. Follow that. Go back to your scanning system. 1's restricted here in block 8. And then with these two 1s, a 1's restricted right there in block 2. And then after finding that in block 2, stay up here in row 1. You now have a heavy house. 1, 2, 3, 6, 8, 9. You just need a 4, 5, and a 7. Well, with this 4, 5, that's got to be your 7. And this is going to be 4, 5, naked pair. And then you might notice with this 3, 8 here, the 4, 1, 6, 5, 2, and 7, where can the 9 go in column 4? It can only go right there, which leaves you with a nice 4, 5, naked pair right there. So the naked pair now, in block 2, it's in the same block, in the same column, it's a pointing pair as well. 4's got to be in one of these cells. This can't be a 4 anymore. So you can solve that for a 7, solve that for a 4. Leaves you with just a 2 and a 9 down here. But you can do better than that, right? Because what do we have over here? Pointing pair of 9s. Means that can't be a 9. That's got to be your 2. That's going to be your 9. And then finish up this block with a 5, 7. So use that scanning system. Look at the impact, row, column, and block. Got a 9 right there. Pointing pair of 9s here. Where can the 9 go in block 9? It's got to be there. What's the impact on the column? Now that's a 7. That's a 5. That's going to be your 9. See how that works? And then scan down. You're going to look to the left or look down. I immediately see that you can displace this 9, solve that for a 9. So you want to make that mark. Gives you a 3, 8 right there. And then you have, looks like 3, 7, 8. The 7s are restricted here. Can you do better than that? And yes, we can, right? You can go back here where you solve this 9. You have a full house. 8 or 9 digits for that. You know you can solve this cell now for a 5. 4 there, 5 there, and a 4 right there. And then you can disambiguate the 9 and the 5 right here. See how that works? And you just keep on working through these solves. This can't be a 4 anymore. This is going to be a 2, 7. But can you do better than that? We're going to look. And actually, I'm going to use my little right angle trick. This has to be a 2 or 7. Can't be a 9 anymore, so you can displace the 9. Solve that for a 9. Solve that for a 4. With the 2 right here, right angle trick, that's a 7. That's a 2. That's going to be your 7. So this 2 here allows you to solve a 7 right there. And you just have now a 2 and a 5 remaining. Well, with this 2, there's your 2, there's your 5. Look at the impact of row, column, block. 7 and 5 right there. Work your way through these marks. Attack those marks. Displace that 5. Solve this for 5. Displace the 8. Displace in the 7. Displace that 3. You can disambiguate the 8 and the 3 right here. And then you can disambiguate the 3 here and solve your last cell for an 8. Now, apply the ultimate strategy you just learned to this next championship puzzle. Thank you so much for watching.